Hey, Elganza, how you doing? Hey guys, it's Jim with Cooperative Motor Works and Motorhome Rehab Ranch on Patreon, and doing a whole bunch of work here in the office. This is going to be my office, and this is it. Hi there. Listen. There's been so much talk about carburetors and fuel injection. Let's talk about why. You say, why? Is it because you're cool and you want fuel injection? No, that's not it. I love my Quadrajet carburetor. Okay, I'm smarter than this thing. I know how to bend the spring. You know, I spent a lot of years learning how to set the Oldsmobile engine up to this carburetor. But the problem with this carburetor, think about this. 15 years ago, if you were to take gas, open pail of gasoline, go put it in the barn, shut the door. Next morning, you'd have half the gas probably evaporated. You have dead rats, flammable straw, and somebody would be mad because you had to fumigate the barn. Well, try it today. The fuel doesn't evaporate. The EPA, in its infinite wisdom, has made the fuel where it doesn't spontaneously evaporate. It's more like diesel. Diesel will sit in that bucket all day. You could even throw a match in it. It doesn't matter. Because diesel is designed at ambient air pressure. That's the air pressure around us. It doesn't do that much. What makes diesel viable is pressure, turbos, superchargers. At high pressure, now diesel is volatile, okay? Well, the EPA has, and the thing about diesel, it doesn't evaporate, right? It doesn't pollute as bad that way anyway. We know about suspended particulates and all that. Let's not go there. But so the fuel today is made where it does not pollute so badly. What does that mean to us? In other words, it means the evaporation rate has changed. This carburetor is at ambient air pressure, and it mixes to air and fuel together to 14.1. Well, the problem is with the fuel, its evaporation rate changed where it doesn't evaporate so fast. That means when it goes through the carburetor, it doesn't mix right. You can't get 14.1. Where's that unburned fuel going? It's going into through your cylinders, into the oil, thins the oil out, burns the motor up. Okay? So if you're going to still run a carburetor, you need to change your oil often. And you'll notice that it gets thinner. I mean, think about it. If it's not mixing to 14.1, where is that extra fuel going? It has to go somewhere. Now, if you're running around town, romping around your 396 and, traffic lights, that's fine. But you get that 396 and you get out on the highway for 6 hours, there is a quantity of fuel that did not get burned, and it's going to damage your engine, okay? So a carburetor is not the right adapter to mix the fuel and air. Fuel injection is, okay? Fuel injection pressurizes the fuel and then breaks it up mechanically through an injector, just the same way diesel does. It is burning at a higher than ambient pressure, higher pressure than ambient pressure, and that's what the fuels today need to work. The proper adapter for the fuel today is fuel injection, okay? Now, 5 years ago, if you bought an aftermarket fuel injection system, it was a dumb system. You put it in, had 5 or 6 sensors and wires all over the place. It were a big mess. It took like 20 hours to put it in. And then when you got it in there, it had to be tuned. You had to put a chip in it, and there was a big talk about what kind of chip, Or you take it to a dyno and they dial it up and get it working. As long as nothing changes, everything's fine. But if any of those 6 sensors or a wire shorts out or anything, what's your diagnostic tree on something like that? There is none. You replace parts. You remember those days, right? With your carburetor, what's your diagnostic tree? You can look down the throat of the carburetor. It got fuel. Yep. You can check the HEI distributor. I have fire. Yep. Oh, look, there's a piston hanging out the side. That's the problem. See, your diagnostic tree on a carburetor was so much better. Okay. Well, up until 5 years ago, the computer in your new car is called computer engine management systems. It has a learning computer in it, and it changes all the time. Your car salesman probably told you, you say, well, what kind of mileage does this new car get? And you said, well, you know, if you drive it like a little old lady and keep your foot out of it, it'll do just fine. And it'll learn that. But then again, if you drive it like you stole it, it'll haul butt, but it won't get much mileage. Because the computer is learning and it's doing whatever it's got to do to get 14.1, okay? The software for those computer engine management systems was proprietary to OEM until about 5 years ago. Now, you can buy a computer engine management system learning computer for $1,000 or under, okay? You can add to it all the pieces. The forced fuel system we use uses an accumulator tank and pulls the high pressure fuel out of that so you don't run out of fuel. You know, with our shallow tanks, we've tried 8 different conversions to make a tank to work. And the real thing that makes it work is the forced fuel system with the accumulator tank, a half-gallon accumulator tank. So if you're having problems with tanks, some of our earlier tanks, get a forced fuel system and all your problems will be gone, okay? But why do we want to go to it? Why do we want to get into it and get away from the carburetor, which we think we know? Because the fuel injection is the right adapter for the fuel today. And because new technology is computer controlled. It really works, has a screen, tells you everything real time. There's like 35 things it's looking at real time. One of them tells you the barometric pressure. It's amazing, okay? So it's not a fact of getting rid of the carburetor because it's an old belch fire machine and everybody wants to be cool and everyone wants to have the fuel injection. That's not it, okay? The reason is this is the wrong adapter for the fuel today. And this, FiTech, is the right adapter for the fuel today. Now your engine, there's been a lot of improvements in the last 50 years on engines. And fuel injection is one of them. And it's unfortunate, I'm thinking about making some kind of a table decoration out of this baby because we're ended up with tons of these things. Fuel injection is the way of the future. If you do it now, fine. If you do it later, fine. It needs to be the new design system, the computer engine management systems. FiTech and Sniper are the 2 most prevalent. The reason we use FiTech, remember we talked about the diagnostic tree, fuel and fire? Okay, when you put in a FiTech system, the initial installation is a segregated system where the fuel system, the FiTech system, does not talk to the distributor. Our HEI GM distributor is just about bulletproof if you carry a couple of basic parts. And if they're still segregated, your diagnostic tree is the same thing it was at a carburetor. You look down the throat, has it got fuel? You see if the distributor's putting out fire. Oh, that piston's still hanging out the side. So your diagnostic tree with the new FiTech segregated fuel injection system is the same as it used to be on the carburetor. So the repairs, the maintenance, the problems are very, very much like a carburetor. FiTech has a real good customer service department, but it works very much like a carburetor, okay? And that's the reason we use in FiTech. It's not like, I want to use this one or that one or other. We've put in a Sniper system. The Sniper system's primary hookup is integrated to a distributor that changes them all and all this. And I just feel that simplicity, we would prefer to go something that's easier to fix on the road, easier to diagnose what the problem is. And the FiTech seems to fit that bill pretty well. We're dealers. If you're interested in doing this, give me a call. We can put together a complete package, all the cables and hoses and all the junk you need to put a FiTech system in your coach. All right, well, We're going to also have another video coming up soon that's going to talk about the initial setup of the FiTech system. But I thought it was really important for you guys to hear why we're doing it. I mean, you know, it's cool, yeah, but that's not the reason. It's the proper adapter for the fuel we have today. Make sense? All right. Well, look, thank you for your time, and if you'd like to be a ranch hand, you can go up and register and all that. By the way, let me show you something new that we've got. Where is oh yeah, here we go. Here we go. This is going to be our new logo. Take a look. That's our new Motorhome Rehab Ranch logo. So we're going to be making patches for all the members that you can sew onto your shirt. And we're going to make shirts. And so we're starting to get into this. Really, there's a lot of things we can do. I've got a couple of questions here from ranch hands. When I give a lot of gas on takeoff, the engine will move and actually move the engine lid. You know, you may have seen that, right? Well, the problem with that, our drivetrain has a 3-motor mount system. It has one front motor mount and has 2 transmission mounts, okay? If the front main seal leaks, guess what? It leaks oil right on that front motor mount. Front motor mount gets rubbery, gets loose, hit the gas, the front of the motor lifts, hits the engine cover. My guess is, first, you probably have a front main seal leaking. Pretty easy to fix because you change the front. If you look at the timing chain, the plate that's over the timing chain has the front main seal on it. Below the seal, right now, you can go up underneath there and look at that rubber motor mount. See how gooey it looks. Probably pretty gooey. So while you're looking at it, have somebody go up, fire the motor up and rev it once. You'll see the motor move on that motor mount. Okay, if it is, you need a new motor mount. Applied, Jim K at Applied in Fremont, California, has new motor mounts, so you need to change that motor mount. My guess. Okay, got another one here in 74 coach that I just bought. Can remove the battery. Can I remove the battery in the battery compartment and up front and replace them both with a 26-volt deep cycle golf cart type battery? A person who sold this to me thinks that the battery in the rear is solely for the generator. This does not seem likely to me, but I am not sure. Let me explain this. General Motors, this is the first motorhome they ever built, right? They didn't really know that much, or they were learning, you know. Remember, Henry Ford's first car had bicycle tires, so he learned over the years. So General Motors was learning about this, about batteries. What, you're going to park in the woods and not run your generator? See, GM thought of the coach as a transportation vehicle, not a camper, okay? So here's the deal. In 73 and 74, truly, the rear battery in the back was for the generator only, for the CPU, for the APU. The problem with that was you don't crank the generator up for a month, battery goes bad, now you got to have a set of 30-foot set of jumper cables to start the generator. So they figured that didn't work out. So in late 74 and 75, they ran an 8-gauge wire to the back to that battery to charge it. In 75, they got rid of all that stuff and they ran a 2-gauge wire from the front all the way to the back to that battery, okay? So this guy has a 74. Very possibly the back battery is just for the generator. Now, if the coach was in here and you asked me what I would do, what you want to do, you don't want to use big plate batteries because you don't have a charging system good to charge it up. What I would do is use a regular 12-volt engine battery, 650 cranking amps or above, and then use one living area battery up front, a deep cycle battery, and run a cable, a 2-gauge wire all the way back to the generator and run it from the front. That way you can put switches in the front. They're safer, okay? The batteries are in the front, easier to look down and check them. And there's no battery in the back. So if there's an electrical issue, all you got to do is rip the front cover up and flip the batteries and run. So anytime that we do a restoration, we're usually taking the battery out of the rear. We don't want to use a big plate battery. We want to have a battery that is can be supported by what your power supply is. If you have a 30 or 40 amp power supply in the back, you don't want to have a bunch of golf cart batteries because that 30 amp power supply is never going to charge it. So you want to match your charge system to your batteries to your need. Now, if you're going to be off the grid, like my son, BLM property, yeah, you may want to have a couple of batteries, but then you're going to need to have some more chargers. You're going to have a bigger alternator and that kind of thing to support it. So it really depends on how you're going to use it, okay? So yeah, you could have a 74, 73s and 74s are kind of like a box of chocolates. You never know what you got. It depends. The older ones, they get, the serial numbers get bigger, you get a little bit better refined coach. So a 74, you may need to do some wiring. If you have any questions about that, give me a call. I can tell you real quick on the phone. Don't text me something like that, or don't email me because I just don't sit there that much. It's much better. Just ranch hands, listen, man, you got my phone number. Just call me. Just call me right then. We'll stop, take 5 minutes, tell you what you need to know. You can get back to work. I mean, that's what you're paying me for, right? Okay. All right. Well, look, I hope this helps you a little bit. If it does, become a ranch hand, and we move on and up. See you next time.